All right. Welcome into tonight's show on Friday night, live from the Hill Bar and Grill. This is Rock Solid Sports, and we are happy to be with you as we await this Big Orange Saturday tomorrow, the biggest game in college football, and we have a lot to talk about here. But first of all, of course, we have to give credit to our gracious sponsor for tonight, the Hill Bar and Grill. That is on 1105 Forest Avenue, back of the fort. We got Devin down there tonight. Devin, how's it going?
We got Tucker down there.
Or sorry, tonight. Tucker. Oh my God. Tucker, how's it going?
Hey, Chloe. It is great as always here at the Hill Bar and Grill. We've got all kinds of stuff to watch on TV. It looks like the Heat and the Bulls and the Celtics are going to be on ESPN here in just a bit. Duke and Boston College have just kicked off on another TV. It looks like we got the Golf Channel on here as well. And over to my left, I actually have a giveaway for us here at Rock Solid Sports for some tickets to the Tennessee versus UMass Lady Vols basketball game. So you must register in person if you want to win those tickets. So that's how you do that. But great night here at the Hill as always.
Yeah, that's going to be a really exciting game, too. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. It's going to be a really big game. But yeah, Rock Solid Sports Friday Night Show, sponsored by the Hill Bar and Grill, located in the Fort Sanders area at the corner of 12th Street and Forest Avenue. The Hill Bar and Grill is a bar, restaurant, and caterer with wings, burgers, tacos, and more, with dining indoors on their expanded outdoor patio areas, and they have curbside pickup available as well. More info at thehillknocks.com on their social media. And a huge thanks to the Hill for sponsoring tonight's show. We have Tucker at the Hill. Sorry, it's been Devin the past few weeks, so I messed up. And then Keegan alongside me in the studio, and Devin is here in the studio as well. And I'm Chloe, and we also have a very special guest on tonight's show. We got Stuart Steele, who is from Red and Black, the student-ran newspaper over down at UGA tonight, as our special guest. Stuart, can you hear us? Okay. We're going to figure that. Oh, wait, Stuart, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, we got you now. That was my bad. I had to press a few buttons. But yeah, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us, because obviously we have this Behind Enemy Lines segment that we do. You know, we try to do every Friday with the opposing team, and this is the biggest college football game yet. So, I mean, we can't not. It would be a shame if we didn't. So let's get right into it. So tomorrow, biggest game in college football. The numbers are a little bit of a debate now.
We're going by the college football.
Okay, number one versus
Tennessee
number two.
Versus number 3, Georgia.
Number 3, sorry.
Tomorrow.
Number 1 versus Tennessee versus number 3, Georgia. And it's the biggest game yet. College Game Day is going to be there, right? SEC Nation, right? Everything's there.
Everybody's there.
Why would they not be? Like I said, huge game. Anyways, both teams are undefeated, of course. And we have 2 quarterbacks going at it. Hendon Hooker versus Stetson Bennett tomorrow down in Athens, Georgia. And I just have to ask you, Stuart, how do you think these 2 quarterbacks are going to look as a one-on-one matchup? How do you think, what are their strengths and weaknesses? And, I mean, what do you think will ultimately lose Georgia the game or win them the game?
Yeah, so I think both quarterbacks are obviously very strong players, but Hendon Hooker's been one of the top quarterbacks in the entire nation. You could argue the top quarterback in the nation this year. And I think his decisiveness and his ability to run this up-tempo offense Tennessee has been the most impressive thing to me about him, and his decision-making. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and he's very accurate at all times pretty much. And on the other side, you have Stetson Bennett, who I think he's a bit of an up-and-down player at times, where he has these turnovers in him at times and bad decisions, especially if he gets behind in a game. And I think that's a big concern for Georgia tomorrow, is if they get down in this game, Stetson Bennett may try to force some throws that he wouldn't usually make. And I think that's the bigger concern. I'd give the advantage to Tennessee at the quarterback position for sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a case of a game changer versus a game manager, right? I mean, Stetson Bennett, throughout most of last season and most of this season, he was kind of just running the system that Georgia has, and that defense was the one winning them the games. But obviously he has his moments, like you just mentioned, with the up and downness of him. you could say that last year he won you guys that national championship game. He put the team on the back at the end of that game. Do you think that there's going to be a moment this season where that happens again for Stetson Bennett? And do you think it could be tonight? If y'all are trying
to talk to me, I can't hear anybody right now. I heard Chloe and can't hear anybody else.
Try now.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, so my question was, I think this is the case of a game manager versus a game changer, right? And I think throughout most of the season last year and this year, Stetson Bennett was a guy who was able to run Georgia's system, but that defense was really winning them the games. Except for in the national championship where Stetson Bennett really came through and honestly won that game for Georgia. Do you think that there's going to be a moment that this season that happens for Stetson Bennett? And do you think tomorrow afternoon can be the time that moment happens? Do you think it can come down to the last drive where you have to put, your season maybe on the line with Stetson Bennett? Do you think he can be that guy and have that moment and get the job done?
Yeah, I think he can. I think that guy is in there. It's just a question of whether he will be that guy tomorrow. SEC championship game last year is kind of the example of the opposite for you, where he throws an interception, it kind of compiles some things against Alabama, and the game gets away from him. And I think that's one scenario tomorrow. And the other scenario is we get good Stetson Bennett, like we saw, like you said, in the national championship game and in the Orange Bowl against Michigan, where he really plays at a high level and elevates the offense around him. And I think that's what Georgia needs to hope they get tomorrow. And I'm not sure if they will, but I can see it coming down to the last drive just because I do think this Georgia offense is good enough to hang around with Tennessee. Mostly due to some doubts I have about Tennessee's defense, but I do think the Tennessee offense is going to put up enough points that we see an opportunity for this to be that kind of a game for Stetson Bennett where he has to go win it for Georgia. And that's always been the big question about him, even during last season and this season so far, where he hasn't really faced that challenge.
For sure. And I can definitely see your concern with the defense there. I have some doubts myself, but I guess kind of flipping to the other side and looking at Hendon Hooker, who's obviously at this point the Heisman candidate and has been tearing apart defenses all season. He's going up against his toughest challenge yet in Georgia's defense, who last season was obviously a world beater defense. They were a country mile ahead of anyone else. And I think this year they are still the best defense in college football, but I think we're yet to find out, are they leaps and bounds ahead of what they are last year? I guess, what do you need to see from them tomorrow to both stop Hendon Hooker and to show you that they really are this world beater defense that can win you another national championship?
I don't think they are that defense personally this season. At least leaps and bounds better than every other defense. I think they're right there in that top group. But what I need to see tomorrow is, the secondary step up. I think that's the big question mark. Kamari Lassiter is the starting cornerback opposite Kelee Ringo, and I think he's going to be a player Tennessee looks to target early and often with Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, those big-time receivers out there. And I think Georgia's susceptible to a few kind of coverage communication breakdowns on the back end. They have a veteran leader back there in Christopher Smith, but Lassiter and then freshman Malachi Starks are kind of younger, getting into the swing of college football still a little bit. Both talented players, but there are opportunities there for Tennessee to hit some of those big plays. So I really don't see Georgia being able to hold Tennessee down in any meaningful way. I think it's going to come down to whether they can make a timely play or two, get a turnover here or there, get a stop, get off the field. But I think even in a good scenario for Georgia tomorrow, Tennessee probably scores 30. This offense is just, it's almost like you were describing Georgia's defense last year is how I view this Tennessee offense. It's just really tough to stop, and they've got so many weapons. And the up-tempo thing, Georgia hasn't dealt with that this season. So I'm curious to see how they deal with that and being able to rotate, if they are at all, or getting stuck on the field in their base packages, how that's going to affect the game as well.
Devin, you have a follow-up?
Yeah. So sorry, I was going to ask. So I know Stuart. Can you hear me? By the way.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Everyone, Stuart should be able to hear everyone now. I fixed it.
Okay, good, awesome, good job, Chloe.
Thank you.
So, anyways, you were concerned with the secondary in this matchup, but honestly, when I was looking at Georgia's defense, I saw that they were last in the SEC in sacks. which was shocking to me considering all the great players that they have in the front seven. And now missing Nolan Smith, which is very unfortunate because he's such an incredible player. And he was one of your top sack leaders. How can you expect to get pressure on Tennessee, especially with the way Tennessee spaces out their offense with receivers on either side? Who are you looking to generate pressure against a quarterback like Hendon Hooker?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. And Georgia's lack of sacks, I think, has been a little bit of a misleading stat because I do think they get consistent pressure on quarterbacks. It's just guys have been good at getting rid of the ball against Georgia and throwing it away as well, rolling out to their sides. And I think the guy to look to for Georgia and the player I think on defense that has the most pressure on him tomorrow is Jalen Carter. I mean, he's the centerpiece of this Georgia defense. He's been out for a while, came back against Florida, had a really effective game just forcing pressure up that pocket, making Anthony Richardson roll out and forcing some bad plays. And I think that causing those negative plays, and against Tennessee, I don't think Hooker is going to be susceptible to holding the ball for a long time or anything like that. So I'm not expecting a lot of sacks or a lot of pressures just because of the nature of the offense, like you were saying. So I think it's more about containing him in the pocket and, not allowing him to step up and make throws because there are going to be open receivers at times, and Georgia's going to have to try to affect him in the pocket. And the Nolan Smith loss is a big one, I think, because I think it's a big loss in the run game as well. I mean, on the edges there, Hendon Hooker's a dangerous runner, and then Jabari Small and Jalen Wright are also good players. So I think it's going to affect that, and he's a leader on the defense, a vocal leader, and the guys they have to replace him are either inexperienced or just not as good of athletes. So I think that is an area that Tennessee will look to exploit for sure.
Tucker?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions just regarding your offense. So first of all, I want to talk about the running backs for just a bit. We can go as far back as
right now. I'm not hearing anybody. Just a heads up.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
He should be able to. Let me try something.
Yeah.
Talk now.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
No, I don't think he can hear you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that is. I have the phone turned on for you, Tucker. Your tie line. I have the phone turned on. We're gonna go ahead with Tucker's question, and I'll repeat it to you, Stuart. Go ahead, Tucker.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about running backs. We can go back as far as like Herschel Walker here with Georgia, as far as the great running backs, and you look over the last 5 years, they've been spectacular as well. But this year, it doesn't really seem like there's that one feature back for Georgia. Who do you think will be the guy of the three guys, being Kendall Milton, Kenny McIntosh, Dejon Edwards? Who will be the guy between those guys that'll get it done for Georgia down the stretch?
So Tucker's talking running backs. Who do you think is going to be your guy? He said, who do you think which of those three guys is going to be who's going to get it done down the stretch for you for
on
UGA?
The Georgia side?
What was that?
On the Georgia side?
Yeah, on the Georgia side, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a great group of running backs. Kendall Milton's been out of the mix for the last couple of weeks with an injury, but Dejon Edwards has been a really solid player. But I think Kenny McIntosh is the guy in the end. He's the starting running back. He's the best out of the backfield, I think, and he's been showing his ability to run in between the tackles as well. I think the running game is the key for Georgia tomorrow, just because you want to keep that Tennessee offense off the field as much as you can. And that's easier said than done. Tennessee has a really good defensive front. I think it's the strength of their defense. So Georgia's running backs are going to have to play well tomorrow. But, yeah, Kenny McIntosh is the guy for me. Had a good game last week, minus a fumble, but I think he'll have another strong showing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great point, and I agree with you 100% there. I think if Georgia's running backs can have a good game and break through the Tennessee's front of their defense, I think it's going to be a tough outing for Tennessee, because even with a quarterback who's, not an elite passer like Stetson Bennett, you're still going to be able to get some yards down the field. So if you're putting in a good running game tomorrow, I'm nervous for this Tennessee defense.
Yeah, Tucker, did you have another question?
Yes,
okay.
I did. It relates to the tight ends. You've got two at Georgia that are spectacular right now. Brock Bowers is a guy that I consider to be the best tight end in all of college football, just in, the fact that you can hand him the ball too and he can cause damage. But you've also got a guy in Darnell Washington that's, 6'7", 270-pound bear just running down the field. What does it mean for those guys to get going on your offense, and how big of a part of the offensive plan are they?
Could you hear that at all, Stuart?
No, I still can't hear. Talk.
Okay. What does it mean for guys to have guys like Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers at tight end on the field for you tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely huge. Darnell Washington, literally absolutely huge. And then Brock Bowers, the best player on Georgia's offense by a long shot. And I think the tight ends are the engine of this offense. To me, when they're working, the offense is working. And a lot of that comes off of play action as well, getting Stetson on the run, kind of throwing kind of these flat routes to Brock and Darnell and letting them make plays. I think they're both key in the running game as well. They're good blockers, and Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers give them a lot of versatility in the kind of formations they can run as well. I mean, Tennessee is obviously known for that hurry up, but when Washington and Brock Bowers are on the field at the same time, you can go with these two tight ends, single back looks, run heavy, and then also spread it out, go empty with both of them as capable receivers. So I think they're two of Georgia's best players on offense.
Gotcha.
So, Stuart, with Tennessee's hurry-up offense and all the spacing, no team has really been able to effectively shut that down or slow that down. How do you think Kirby Smart and his defensive coordinator and his staff is going to try to shut down Tennessee's fast-paced offense?
I think that's a great question, and I'm curious to see how it is. I don't really know. I think it's been a weakness of this Georgia defense is out on the perimeter, making those tackles. It goes back to Kamari Lassiter again. He's kind of a weaker cornerback out there, unable to get off blocks at times. I think Georgia's generally a similar defense to Alabama thematically. So obviously they weren't able to stop Tennessee. So I'm not expecting Georgia to be able to make a lot of plays on the perimeter, but I think it's just about getting bodies out there and being aware of where the ball goes, not falling for misdirection, being disciplined. I think they want to force Tennessee to have these long marches, which obviously Tennessee is capable of, but Georgia's going to emphasize not allowing the big play to beat them over the top.
I got a question about just like this Euro season in general. Tennessee's played a few more ranked opponents than you all, and that's kind of a big critique, I guess, of this matchup against Tennessee. But obviously, there's no doubt that both of these teams are still great. How do you feel like? If you had to give me your best score prediction, what would you say and who would be on top? And also, do you feel like Tennessee might surprise you all not have playing more ranked opponents, or maybe even be more prepared going into this game?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I put a lot of stock into the ranked opponents thing. I think it's totally reasonable to have Tennessee ranked above Georgia at this point just because they do have those strong wins, but Georgia has that big win over Oregon to start the season that keeps looking better and better as Oregon wins every game after that. And I think Georgia has the experience in these kinds of games to kind of neutralize that. I don't think they'll be caught off guard by Tennessee in any way. I mean, I do think Tennessee will be up to the challenge, but I have the Bulldogs winning tomorrow, I think 38-31. I'm not very confident in that score or that pick at all. I can see it going any way. And I think if any team gets blown out in this game or gets beat handily, it's going to be Georgia. I think the first quarter is so key to how this game plays out, because if Georgia comes out slow or turns the ball over early, Tennessee could get out to a 20-0 lead in a blink, and I think that's just game over because that's not how Georgia's meant to play.
For sure. And as we kind of wrap this up, I want to move things macro a little bit. I know for this game, for you, obviously, those ranked matchups don't win. Really, the only big thing on your resume if you don't win this Tennessee game is that Oregon game. So if that scenario you just talked about happens, Tennessee comes out there and Georgia just can't catch up, Georgia loses this game, where do you think Georgia stands? Because obviously, I mean, every sports talk show has been having this talk the whole week. The losers of this game theoretically still has a good chance. Where do you think Georgia stands with that only big win being Oregon? Do you think their chances to make the playoff are still good, or do you think, some things need to happen for this Georgia team to still be there at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think if they lose this game, it's going to be really tough for Georgia. I don't put a lot of stock into the resume stuff this season because I think the committee also does give a lot of love to teams that have proven themselves in the past, especially Alabama famously, and I'd say Clemson as well. And I think Georgia started to build that kind of a reputation, but they don't have those quality wins this season. And I think especially if Tennessee looks like a class above Georgia, it's going to be really hard to recover from that. I think Georgia really needs to win tomorrow. I think it's more important for Georgia to win tomorrow than it is for Tennessee in a lot of ways, because I think the path to the playoff for Tennessee is a lot more clear with a loss than it is for Georgia.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I will say one thing, though. I do feel like Georgia, if it comes down to it and it's say, there's 3 one-loss teams and it's Georgia, it's TCU with like 11-1, and then it's Oregon, you're probably looking at Georgia and Oregon. Then they go back to week 1 and it's 47-3. I agree with you that Tennessee probably has the easier path just because of their strength of schedule. But I think that could be a scenario where Georgia still sneaks in at 4. And like you said, the committee does like these teams who have proved themselves in the past and what better than, the previous national champion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But what you run into there is kind of that you're going to have one of Ohio State and Michigan likely undefeated. You're going to have Clemson, I think, at this point, undefeated, unless they drop a game we're not expecting them to drop. And then I think the biggest favor Tennessee could do Georgia after this is if they win it, beating Alabama in that SEC title game, because I think that opens the door for Georgia. And like you said, they're not going to be able to overlook that Oregon win in that scenario. But I think the TCU-Georgia thing is an interesting one because I could see it going either way, realistically. But I think Georgia gets that name brand kind of benefit of the doubt.
Interesting. Yeah, you picked Georgia to win, but you still have that fear that it could be Tennessee running away with it. Any other final questions for Stuart today, guys? Devin?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say also, if Georgia happens to beat Tennessee for the exact same reason that Stuart just said, then I'll be cheering for Georgia the rest of the season because we need Georgia to go undefeated in order for Tennessee to get in also. Like, I'm hoping if Georgia wins this game and it ends up them versus Alabama or LSU or Ole Miss, possibly small chance, then yeah, we got to pull for Georgia to win. So interestingly enough, same thing there.
Yeah, for sure. Keegan, did you have something? Oh, sorry. Tucker?
Yeah, I'm definitely with Devin. I think that we are going to have to root for Georgia to help us out because obviously the last thing that either of us want to see is Alabama in the college football playoffs again. So I think that's a great point by Devin there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. I'm super excited. Who would you guys pick to win? Who do you guys pick to win? We heard Stewart's answer. What about you guys?
If Tennessee's going to win this game, they're going to score a lot of points. If Georgia can hold Tennessee to like less than 30 points, I think we lose this game. So I'm gonna go with my gut and say Tennessee wins this game 38-30, somewhere in that range. But I think if this game's low scoring, Georgia could win it like 28-21. But I'm hoping it's the former.
Interesting. Devin?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tennessee winning 42-35. I think this game is going to be really close, an all-time classic, just like Alabama versus Tennessee. And hopefully this time Tennessee comes away with a victory, just like last time with Alabama. But we'll have to see. Georgia's a great team. Their home field advantage is one of the best in all of college football. So it takes a truly great team to beat Georgia when they're at home. But I think Tennessee is that truly great team.
I like that. Tucker, what's who you got and what's the score?
Yeah, listen, I've been doubtful of Josh Heupel and this team in the past in big situations like this, but they always prove me wrong. So I have no reason to believe that they won't go out and win this game. I'm going to go with Tennessee to get it done 38-35.
I am someone who, if I don't pick Tennessee, I feel like it's my fault if they lose. So I have to pick Tennessee, even if in my brain's telling me not to. But I actually like Tennessee in this matchup, partly because I just forgot what it feels like to lose. And I would I'm literally not going to be able to sleep tonight. I really think Tennessee could do it. I'm going to say Tennessee. I like your all scores in the 30s. But I might give Tennessee a little bit more. Maybe Tennessee 42-31 or something like that. I hope it's a comfortable lead. Obviously, it wasn't with Alabama, but we'll have to see. And it is done in Athens, so maybe that's saying a lot. But I'm not sure. Well, thank you, Stuart, so much for being on our show tonight. And good luck tomorrow. It's going to be a crazy day down in Athens.
Yeah, definitely is. Thanks for having me on. It was a real pleasure.
Of course. Thanks so much. That was Stuart Steele from UGA student-ran newspaper, Red and Black. He's the sports editor there. And we would like to thank him so much for joining us tonight. And we have a whole other half of a show to come. We're going to talk more college football, NFL, and some basketball things, as it is that time where college basketball is coming into the loop of things. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned to Rock Solid Sports on Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock, rocking ears for 40 years.
Hey, everybody, this is Peter Case, 90.3 The Rock, streaming 24/7 at WUTKradio.com.
The Rock receives support from The Hill, Fort Sanders' destination for wings, beer, and sports, including college football every Saturday and the NFL Sunday Ticket. The Hill proudly hosts Rock Solid Sports Friday broadcast from 7 to 8 p.m. Located at 1105 Forest Avenue, just blocks from UT campus, The Hill is open 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day. TheHillKnocks.com.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says Go Vols basketball.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
Volunteer Radio thanks all who helped to keep us on the air through the Kroger Community Rewards Program. For those who have not enrolled, it's as easy as heading to WTKRadio.com and clicking on the Support WTK banner on the homepage, instantly linking to the Kroger Community Reward page. Log in and connect your Kroger Rewards card, and be sure to designate the WUTK Gift Fund as your nonprofit of choice. While enrolled, using a Kroger Plus card allows 10% of most purchases to go directly to our nonprofit WUTK Gift Fund, helping to keep Knoxville's best radio station on the air, and it costs nothing extra at all. This also includes purchases made at Nashville area Kroger stores. Spread the word to family and friends to enroll in the Kroger Community Rewards Program today, and please choose the WUTK Gift Fund, helping to keep the award-winning, self-supporting student lab and radio station on the air. Thank you for listening and supporting WTK through the Kroger Community Rewards Program.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Season tickets for the 2022 UT Volunteers football season are on sale now. The next phase of Neyland Stadium renovations will be ready for the new season with home games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and more. Info at allvols.com. A link is at WUTKradio.com. 90.3 The Rock wishes Coach Heupel and the football Vols good luck this season on the gridiron.
Hi, this is Derek and Rob from the Funhouse. It was brought to our attention that our show and the things that we do could be seen as childish and not funny, sophomoric, vapid, stupid, and a complete and utter waste of time.
We strive to bring you the most entertaining radio that we're capable of each and every week.
So won't you please continue to support us and the station? Tune in every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. only on 90.3 The Rock.
The Funhouse. Syphilis free since 2013.
Stop by the Funhouse Friday nights from 8 till 10 only on 90.3 The Rock.
Congratulations to Rob and Derek, hosts of the Funhouse, for being voted Knoxville's finest radio personalities in the 2021 Blank Newspaper's Knoxville's Finest Readers Poll. Tune in Friday nights from 8 to 10 and find out why. The Funhouse brought to you by Raven Records and Rarities located in Happy Holler.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Climb on up to old Rocky Top.
The Rock keeps the Big Orange Sports info on air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2022-2023 home schedule includes games against UConn, Virginia Tech, SEC foes, and more. General public ticket info is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. WUTK says go Lady Vols.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears.
There's a storm coming to Knoxville every Wednesday night at midnight.
It's The Quiet Storm, 2 hours of classic and contemporary R&B slow jams every Wednesday at midnight, only on 90.3 The Rock, where we play music made for after midnight.
Some Foo Fighters for you on this Friday night as we are about to discuss some more college football. We just had a pretty great interview with Stuart Steele from the Red and Black UGA Student Ran newspaper. So be sure if you missed that, you can go stream that on any on our Rock Solid Sports YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. We live stream that there, but you can go back and catch that interview and listen to, what someone over down in Georgia has to say about that number 1 Tennessee versus number 3 matchup tomorrow down in Athens.
Yeah, and that is not the only top 10 SEC matchup happening tomorrow. We got LSU, Alabama right after that. I mean, 2 top 10 SEC matchups in one day, back to back, 3:30 and I think the next one starts at 7. Alabama, LSU, number 10 versus number 6. And this is an interesting one because obviously we went toe-to-toe with Alabama, that high-scoring game. We killed LSU, and now they're back here at top 10. So we kind of have the two people that we've kind of, chewed away this season. They're going at it for scraps over there in the SEC West. Devin, what do you feel about this game?
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really good matchup because Alabama did not get as lucky as Tennessee with the scheduling. Tennessee got to play LSU in the morning. Alabama has to go to Death Valley late at night. Much different atmosphere. It's going to be much tougher for Alabama. And I think LSU at number 10 is maybe a bit high. Very interesting to be that different from the AP poll.
Yeah, I mean, I was questioning.
Yeah.
Do you think this game's on ESPN? ESPN's doing those they're not doing those rankings, but the ranking shows on ESPN. You think they're trying to give a little top 10 matchup, boost those ratings a little bit for this one?
All I got to say is for anybody who doesn't think that there isn't any sort of extra TV money, motivation that ever goes into these rankings, there absolutely is. There's always extra motivations, especially when you got teams that are close. I think that absolutely has to do with it. They wanted this to be a top 10 matchup. This was the only way they could get it done. But I think LSU really has a legitimate shot, and I'm feeling good about the way they're trending right now.
Yeah, I think my biggest question with this game, though, is, I'm not saying Tennessee has an elite defense by any means, but I think Tennessee's defense has been better than LSU's this year. And Alabama scored 50, how many, 50, whatever 49, 52 points, whatever
49.
it was, 49 points against us. Can LSU's defense hold this Alabama offense to less than that many points? Because LSU's not scoring 50 points. They have a decent offense. They're not scoring 50 points. Can LSU hold this Alabama offense?
No. I think LSU, I think this is going to be, like you said, LSU being ranked number 10. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, interesting. And obviously everyone else did too, because that's why we're talking about it. But I think that this Alabama game personally is going to be like a blowout. I don't think this is not even my top team. This is not even my top matchup if I had to pick it.
I don't know about a blowout, though. I mean, okay, Devin, his point earlier is correct. Death Valley at night is a different place. Those people have either spent their day in Tigerland over there in Baton Rouge, or they've been an hour away on Bourbon Street all day. Now they're coming to the stadium, and it's a different atmosphere at night in Baton Rouge. Now, I'm not saying that wins or loses you the game, but
it could.
That combined with the fact that I think that LSU team is better than they looked against this Tennessee team, I don't think it's a blowout. I still think Alabama wins this game.
I think LSU is gaining a lot of confidence.
42-30 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think LSU is gaining a lot of confidence lately, especially with being ranked number 10. I think that certainly gives the team hope, which will make it a lot closer. And believe it or not, if Alabama shows up the way they've showed up against Texas and against Tennessee, where they've gone on the road and committed so many penalties and fumbling the ball and making huge mistakes, then I think I think LSU will win this game. So if we see that kind of Alabama, assuming we see that kind of Alabama, then I'm going to pick LSU to win this game.
No, mark my words, it's going to be a blowout.
I think
I will say I told you so tomorrow.
I think the environment definitely plays a factor. Like, I mean, Neelam was crazy for those penalties, and that's kind of what caused it. So I think, you could see some similarities, but I don't know. Tucker, do you have anything on this game?
Yeah, this is pretty much the West version of what Alabama-Georgia is. It's basically the regular season division championship for the SEC West, just because I don't think Ole Miss is going to be able to do it when they play Alabama. But, I definitely think this could be a game. Jaden Daniels is a fun quarterback, and usually it takes a fun quarterback to beat Alabama, so maybe they can do it. But history is not on their side, because there's a very unfortunate statistic. LSU has only won at home, I think, 5 times against Alabama.
Yeah, the last time was before 2010, I believe.
And 2 of those 5 times were with Nick Saban as LSU's head coach. So history is definitely not on the Tigers' side in this one.
Also, while we got you, Tucker, obviously we have you the whole show, but while you're just talking, I do have to mention our sponsor for tonight's show, The Hill Bar and Grill at the corner of 12th and Forest Avenue, bar, restaurant, and cater with wings, burgers, tacos, and more. How's it going down at The Hill at 7:43 on this Friday night?
Yeah, it's a great environment as always. We got a little college football on. Duke just kicked a field goal. They're up 10-7 on Boston College. I believe Bulls and Celtics are about to come on ESPN as well. And once again, we got this giveaway here as well for the Tennessee versus UMass Lady Vols game. I believe that's next week, but you must register in person. So, Yeah, that's all I got.
You do have to be down there to register for that. So, the Hill Bar and Grill, thanks so much for sponsoring tonight's show. Anyways, back to Alabama LSU. Sorry to cut in there for a second. LSU has not really beaten anyone impressive except for Ole Miss, and in my opinion, Ole Miss is the most overrated team in the SEC and should not be ranked number 7. So I feel like the rankings say I was someone who was not familiar with college football, and I was completely out of this just looking at the rankings, and I was like, Alabama's number 6, Ole Miss is number 7, and LSU's number 10, but LSU beat Ole Miss. And of course I might pick LSU for the upset, but I just don't think that the rankings are something to go off of at all. And I think that Alabama's going to beat LSU in at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama definitely passed the eye test more than LSU. But I think what we can come to a conclusion here, I think this season the SEC East is leaps and bounds better than the SEC West, at least at the top.
It's not often that you say that about the SEC East. Really isn't.
But moving outside the SEC in college football, we got another big one tomorrow. Clemson, Notre Dame. Now, at the beginning of the season, when you look at this game, this looked like it might be one of the biggest matchups of the season, have huge playoff implications, which it still does, but only for one side. Obviously, Notre Dame had a horrendous start, losing to Marshall, all this stuff. But they've bounced back. Huge win against Syracuse in their previous matchup. And Clemson's still number 4 in the country. And if Clemson keeps winning, they're in. If they lose this game, that's probably wraps on their college football playoff hopes. In South Bend is this one. Clemson is definitely on upset watch tomorrow. I think Clemson's going to be able to get it done as long as DJ Uyunglele, I think I got it this time. As long as DJ has a good game, I think Clemson can get it done. But if you're the Tigers, I think you're watching your back tomorrow night.
It's interesting, Keegan. We don't often get to see two teams going at each other that just both most recently played the same team. Clemson plays Syracuse at home, barely wins, has to come back and gets a little bit of help from the referees, honestly, and they managed to get the comeback victory. Notre Dame on the road against Syracuse dominated them because that offensive line is finally clicking and the running game was so impressive. Now, Clemson's got a very impressive front seven, one of the best in the country. But with Notre Dame's line coming together and at home, I do like the Irish to get this upset. Honestly, I think DJ is going to screw up this game. Drew Pine is going to be okay, but is not going to turn the ball over, and DJ will. And so I got the Irish with the huge upset.
Okay, interesting.
I like the upset more for this one. I don't know. I think although Notre Dame's season did start out kind of very bad, I think I don't know. I think that Notre Dame is more likely to beat number 4 Clemson than LSU is to beat Alabama.
Yeah, and the Notre Dame defense is really coming together.
And Chris is on here defending me with our previous conversation. He said tied by 50. I hate to say it, but I agree. Tucker, what do you think about Notre Dame Clemson?
Yeah, listen, I anticipate a very Big Ten-like, almost like a 17-14 final score in this one, because what you got is two pretty great defenses going up against two offenses that have game managers at quarterback. I mean, let's just call it as it is. I mean, DJ Uyunglele has been okay this year. He's not as bad as he was last year, but he's still not overly impressive. I mean, they had to put Cade Klubnik in the game for a reason against Syracuse, so yeah, that aspect. And then Drew Pine, very unimpressive stat line against Syracuse. I think he maybe threw for just over 100 yards in that game. So ultimately, I do think an upset is possible here. I'm really rooting for Notre Dame to do it. Usually I hate on Notre Dame because, you know, they're a college football playoff team that doesn't have to play anybody every year. But the thing is, now that they have 3 losses, we can root for them a little bit here. So I still like Clemson to win it, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, for sure. And before we head to the break, I will add one more thing. In 2020, when Trevor Lawrence got COVID, DJ's coming out game was in South Bend, Indiana against Notre Dame. And we all thought he was just going to be this next guy after Trevor Lawrence. So maybe we see that again tomorrow.
Very true. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be right back to talk some NFL, maybe throw some college basketball in there too, just like really quick. We'll be right back. Stay tuned to Rock Solid Sports on Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
I'm KJ Pearson, and you're listening to WUTK 90.3 The Rock.
The Rock receives support from The Hill, Fort Sanders' destination for wings, beer, and sports, including college football every Saturday and the NFL Sunday Ticket. The Hill proudly hosts Rock Solid Sports Friday broadcast from 7 to 8 p.m. Located at 1105 Forest Avenue, just blocks from UT campus, The Hill is open 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day. TheHillKnox.com.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Season tickets for the 2022 UT Volunteers football season are on sale now. The next phase of Neyland Stadium renovations will be ready for the new season with home games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and more. Info at allvols.com. A link is at WUTKradio.com. 90.3 The Rock wishes Coach Heupel and the football Vols good luck this season on the gridiron.
There's more than one way to listen to WUTK. Of course, you can listen to us on the radio at 90.3 FM, but did you know you can stream us 3 different ways? Visit WUTKradio.com and click on the Listen Live button. Download the free Radio FX or TuneIn apps and search WUTK. Or just tell your phone or smart speaker, listen to 90.3 The Rock. It's easy to catch all the great modern rock, hip-hop, local music, Americana, or WUTK specialty shows. However you listen, we appreciate the support. Voted Knoxville's best radio station 17 years in a row, we are Volunteer Radio.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Climb on up to Old Rocky Top.
The Rock keeps the Big Orange Sports info on air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2022-2023 home schedule includes games against UConn, Virginia Tech, SEC foes, and more. General public ticket info is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. WUTK says go Lady Vols.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says go Vols basketball.
Hey, this is Rob.
This is Derek.
From the Funhouse. For over a decade, we've been getting your weekend started right.
So grab a beverage or whatever it is you need to grab and tune in every Friday night at 8 o'clock.
On 90.3 The Rock, Volunteer Radio.
It's the best show in the universe.
The Funhouse, brought to you by Raven Records and Rarities at 1200 North Central Street in Happy Hollow, Knoxville. Source for new and pre-loved vinyl and more for nearly 40 years.
Yo, STS9 shouting out at 90.3 The Rock. UT's College of Rock. You checking it?
Welcome back to the final minutes here on Rock Solid Sports Friday night. We are sponsored by the Hill Bar and Grill tonight on the corner of 12th and Forest Avenue. They are catered with burgers, wings, tacos, and more, and also a restaurant and bar inside and a patio as well, dining indoors as well. More info at thehillknox.com or on their social media. Tucker, how's it going?
Yeah, it's great here at the Hill, as always. We've got a little college football on one of these TVs. I think Duke's got the ball right now. They're still up 10-7. Bulls and Celtics just tipped off over on ESPN. And tons of arcade games here as well, as always. And like I said earlier, we've got this drawing over here, this Tennessee versus UMass Lady Vols drawing that you can enter in. But you must enter in person here at the Hill if you want to enter in.
Yep, and that is a huge game coming up with the Lady Vols here just next week. Their next game, though, I did want to talk about. Of course, they beat Carson Newman in that exhibition game by a lot. They got into the hundreds, but now they're going on Tuesday. They're about to leave here in just a few days to take on Ohio State, who is a ranked opponent, number 14, Tennessee's number 5 at Ohio State. And I actually talked to Kelly Harper and Jordan Horston today. I was able to do that. And Jordan Horston, if you don't know, is actually from Columbus, Ohio. So that's kind of going to be a homecoming game for her. She said her high school basketball team is coming to see her play. Her grandma is coming to see her play her first college game ever. So that's pretty cool. And then her dad is also a basketball coach of a boys team. So he's bringing that whole team to come and see her play. So this is going to be an away game. But for any away game, this is the most home away game I've ever heard of. For Jordan Horston especially, it's going to be just like her homecoming game. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how she'll do against Ohio State. And it's going to be we kind of talked about how, it's going to be kind of tough going from playing Carson Newman in the exhibition game to playing a ranked opponent for your first game. And with men's basketball, it's kind of the opposite, which we'll get to in just a second. But yeah, how do you guys feel? Devin, I know we were talking about this before the show. How do you feel seeing the Lady Vols go into this Ohio State game?
Well, this will really determine how confident I really am about this Lady Vols team, because the schedule for the Tennessee Lady Vols this year is brutal. They play so many preseason ranked top 25 teams. Of course, later on in the season, on the road against number 2 Stanford, at home against number 6 UConn, at home against number 1 South Carolina. They got Virginia Tech, who's number 13 at home, Indiana, who's number 11 at home. So this is one of the few big ranked matchups on the road, fortunately. So if they go out and win this game, especially if impressive fashion, then I'll feel very, very good about this Lady Vols team, because they have the best home court advantage in all of women's college basketball. And not many teams can come close to that. And so the fact that they have so many ranked teams at home later on this season is really going to help them out. If they come out strong on the road, then they look like a Final Four team for sure.
Yeah, fortunately, those UConn and South Carolina are later in the season, like in January and February. But still, I do think this game will set the tone for the season. Hopefully, it will be a win, and hopefully, the Lady Vols will do really good. Hopefully, but we'll see somewhat more of where they are from this game more than Carson Newman. Then the Vols, on the other hand, beat Gonzaga, as we talked about that was a week ago today, right?
Yeah, as you mentioned, kind of the opposite for the men's team over here, beating Gonzaga 99-80 this past Friday. And me and Tucker actually talked a lot more about this on our podcast, Hardwood Hot Takes, which you can check out on all the WTK, Rock Solid Sports, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that. But looking forward to this week, it's like you said, it's the opposite. We just played this huge team. Now we have Tennessee Tech. And when you play a game like this, I think earlier in the season, you're looking kind of more where your team chemistry is at and where these pieces fit together. And this is definitely a big question for this men's team, as we have a couple transfers, a couple freshmen, and we don't really have this set starting 5 yet. So I'm going to be interested in this game coming up on Monday, kind of just seeing where these pieces fit together and what lineups work the best. And I will say the one player I think I'm most excited to see more of is Tyreek Key, with a fantastic game against Gonzaga. And I'm really excited to see him in his first real action in about a year and a half, as he was a transfer from Indiana State, I think. I think that's right.
Yeah, that's right. It's Indiana State.
And I'm excited to see him back on the court in a real game for the first time. I think he's going to be a huge piece for the Vols this year.
I'm super excited as well. Tucker, any comments on the Lady Vols or Vols?
Yeah, I much prefer the Lady Vols schedule over the men's schedule, actually, because I think Tennessee gets tested early and often in the Lady Vols schedule, at least at the beginning of the season with their non-conference opponents. I mean, there's just ranked matchups left and right. But the thing is, once they get into conference play, I think there's maybe 2 teams that are ranked preseason. So it'll get easier for them.
And we're the exact opposite.
That's the exact opposite for the men's team because, I mean, there's just not a lot of ranked competition at the beginning of the season. And then you see these difficult teams like Kentucky and Auburn on the road, Texas A&M on the road.
Yeah.
Arkansas comes to town in February. So it's going to be a difficult stretch for the men's team, but the women should have a bit of an easier time down the stretch, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. Women's team, both these teams are going to be teams to be on the lookout for this year. So I hope they both do good. We'll keep you updated with that as the season moves along. But thanks for tuning in to Rock Solid Sports Friday night on 90.3 The Rock. Tonight's show is sponsored by The Hill Bar and Grill. Huge thanks to them. And go Vols. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for listening to Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock, rocking ears for 40 years.